A mother of 4, Ward had the afternoon off from Theresa's Kitchen, the tiny restaurant inside the Valero gas station where she worked a few hours a week. And though relatives had offered to watch the kids so that she and her husband, Chris, could get away for a few hours, Ward waved them off. She wanted the family to be together, her father, Bill, said. Ward, 30, was youngest of 9 kids from Castroville, Texas, a small town west of San Antonio, and had grown up wanting a big family of her own. After a few years of ups and downs, she had finally met Chris, whom relatives described as her soulmate. According to friends, Ward saw their anniversary as a celebration of the life and family they had built together. There were her 2 daughters from previous relationships, Rihanna, 9, and Emily, 7, the daughter she and Chris had together, Brooke, 5, and Ryland, Chris's 5-year-old son from another relationship whom they were raising full-time. She was a wonderful mother, her friend, Terry Smith, recalled. She lived for those kids. And on a horrific Sunday morning a week ago, Ward would die for them too. Everybody is gonna effing die, the gunman shouted as he ran up the aisle and began to fire, according to Roseanne Solis, who was sitting on the back row. Her upper arm bleeding from the initial volley of bullets, Solis dropped to the floor under the pew and pretended that she was dead, convinced she wouldn't make it out alive. A few rows ahead of her, Ward shoved her daughter Rihanna to the ground as bullets began to fly their way. The 9-year-old's glasses were hit and blown off her face as she fell, but she crawled under a pew, taking cover. Her mother threw her body atop the other 3 kids, but the gunman offered no mercy. According to Solis, Kelly stalked the room as an executioner seemingly determined to kill everyone. She and the handful of other survivors who somehow made it out of the church alive said he seemed to specifically target crying children, shooting them until they were silenced. All told, Texas officials listed 26 fatalities, the victims ranging in age from an unborn baby in utero to a 77-year-old grandfather, in one of the worst mass shootings in recent history and the worst ever at a U.S. house of worship. Ward and her daughters Brooke and Emily were killed. Her son Ryland was shot in the stomach, groin, and arm, which was so mutilated by bullets it was nearly amputated. But doctors have been able to stabilize the child, who is likely to be hospitalized for months, according to relatives. Nearly a week later, authorities still have not given an official explanation of Kelly's motive, beyond saying that he was engaged in a domestic dispute with his mother-in-law, Michelle Shields, who regularly attended the church but was not there that morning. According to police, Shields, whose 22-year-old daughter Danielle has been married to Kelly since 2014, received threatening text messages from the gunman before the attack, though it's unclear exactly when those texts were sent. The Shields family has offered no public comment on the attack, silence that has been largely matched by the gunman's own immediate family, including his parents. Kelly and his wife lived in a converted barn behind his parents' home on a sprawling wooded property in New Braunfels, about an hour north of Sutherland Springs. His father, Mickey Kelly, is a programmer who created a type of billing software called Dillaware. His mother, Rebecca, also works for the company, which is operated out of the family home. The gunman also has 2 sisters, including an older sister who lives in nearby Bryan. In the aftermath of the attack, there have been numerous revelations about the gunman's troubled history, including reports of domestic violence and mental health issues that led to him being thrown out of the Air Force. But it's unclear what his family knew about his issues, past or present. None of Kelly's relatives responded to requests for comment, though Mickey Kelly told ABC News in a brief statement on Wednesday that the family is grieving. It's not entirely clear what the status was of Kelly's marriage to Danielle Shields. Police have declined to say, but Wilson County Sheriff Joe Tackett has suggested the couple was estranged, telling reporters that Kelly was angry at his ex-in-laws. Asked for further details, he has repeatedly declined to comment. Several locals say Shields, who is close friends with Pastor Frank Pomeroy and his wife, Sherry, was spotted at the community center a few blocks away from the church in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, where friends and relatives had gathered for word about their loved ones. Her 77-year-old mother, Lula Wasinski, who was believed to have lived with Shields and her husband, Ben, was killed in the attack. According to public records, Shields lives in a house less than a mile away from the church. Reporters who visited the property early in the week found no one home, but on Wednesday, cars were parked in the driveway and the gate was plastered with fresh "No Trespassing" signs. Kelly's massacre was stopped when he was shot and wounded by a neighbor, Stephen Williford. Kelly was hit twice in the leg and torso, prompting him to drop his rifle. He jumped in his Ford Expedition and fled the scene, though not before shooting at Williford with another gun from inside his SUV. Williford flagged down a truck driven by Johnny Langendorf, and the two pursued Kelly in a high-speed chase for roughly 10 miles, until the shooter drove off the road. Police say they found him dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The lingering questions about Kelly's motive and what he might have done, if not stopped, have only added to jitters in a community that to residents had seemed immune from the violence and mass shootings that have erupted in other cities. The attack has hit people of faith particularly hard, as many saw their places of worship as sacred ground that are now no longer truly safe. At a memorial service on Wednesday for the victims, attended by Vice President Mike Pence, Texas Governor Greg Abbott and other dignitaries, many attendees were visibly nervous. The event was held in a high school football stadium in nearby Floresville, where just hours earlier much of the city had been put on lockdown amid rumors of an active shooter. Looking towards Sunday, he said he was planning to sit near the back of his church and be the person to keep watch. "It's sad because this is not what church should be about," he added. "But this is the way it is now. Nobody is safe." While those outside of the community have pointed to the massacre in Sutherland Springs as yet more evidence for the need for new gun control laws, many here have suggested that more guns, not less, seem to be the answer. "That's not what she would have wanted at all," the relative said.